Line from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Water Means Food World Water Day Forum and Training Session at Ebony Park Heart Academy, Osborne Store, Clarendon on Thursday, March 20. Join us for exciting displays, exhibitions from agricultural agencies, on-the-spot prizes and giveaways. Plus, get practical training on water use efficiency for your farm. Don't miss out. Come learn, connect, and celebrate World Water Day. So tune into Cliff Views Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Water Means Food World Water Day Forum and Training Session at Ebony Park Heart Academy, Osborne Store, Clarendon on Thursday, March 20. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the National Irrigation Commission Limited. Irrigation, making the difference in agriculture.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Learn about smart betting strategies with AnyBet. Bet wisely, enjoy responsibly, and maximize your success. The temperature by AnyBet is...
It's 31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 27 in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, murders have declined sharply for the first 74 days for each of the last 5 years.
This is according to data requested from the JCF.
30 guns and more than 100 rounds of ammunition seized at a warehouse on Marcus Garvey Drive yesterday.
MSME Alliance wants more details about NCB's $1 billion SME Growth Fund.
I need some more clarity on the rate, exactly what is being offered. The devil is usually in the details.
The Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network wants the school nutrition policy implemented.
In news from the rest of the world, Antigua's leader rejects allegations that his government withheld details of yacht sale and proceeds.
Zelensky says lasting peace achievable this year as he and Trump hail positive call.
In headline sports, FIFA removes JFF from restricted funding.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, during his budget presentation on Tuesday, opposition leader Mark Golding outlined several initiatives to increase access to affordable housing.
Mr. Speaker, the political organization that I lead views shelter and housing as basic socio-economic rights rather than a privilege.
First Vice President of the Realtors Association of Jamaica, Judy Benjamin, and President of the MSME Alliance, Antoinette Hamilton, will join us.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, what's your reaction to Mark Golding's budget presentation? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM.
At 7, 3 contributions have so far been made to the 2025-2026 budget debate in the House of Representatives. Government Senator Dr. Sophia Longmore will join us to assess the proposals.
And at 8, it's Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings Weathers.
All these and more as we take you home on air, on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, it's Wednesday, March 19, 2025.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now the details. Data from the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, show that the number of murders has declined sharply for the first 74 days for each of the last 5 years. This is based on data requested from the JCF by our news centre. Mahiri Stewart has the details.
Between January 1 and March 15 this year, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, says there were 158 murders. That is 157 fewer than the number of murders recorded in the corresponding period in 2021. The 5-year trend shows that the number of murders has consistently fallen since 2021. In 2021, 315 Jamaicans were murdered between January 1 and March 15. That number fell by 11 to 304 in 2022. The decline continued in 2023. 248 murders were recorded in the first 74 days of that year. This is 56 fewer than January 1 and March 15 in 2022. Murders continued to decline in 2024 with 20 fewer homicides. A total of 228 homicides were recorded in the period under review. 2025's murder figure of 158 represents the steepest drop between 2 years, with 70 fewer than 2024. The 5-year downward trend is also evident in the statistics for shootings. Between January 1 and March 15 in 2021, 275 shooting incidents occurred. However, in 2025, the figure dropped to 164. This is 111 fewer than 5 years ago. Each year between 2021 and 2025 saw a reduction, with the exception being 2024. The 2021 figure dropped by 40 in 2022, while 2023's number was 28 fewer than the year before. 2024 was the anomaly, with 9 more shootings taking place, resulting in a figure of 216. However, come 2025, the number saw its steepest drop between years at 164. This is 52 fewer than the year before. For rape, 2021 saw 129 instances compared to 2025's figure of 35. This is the steepest drop of the crimes examined, with 2025's figure representing a 72% reduction over the 5-year period. Similar to shootings, each year saw a reduction bar one, 2022, when 6 more incidents of rape were recorded. However, following 2022, each year was lower, with the steepest drop once again taking place between 2024 and this year. For the first 74 days of 2024, 101 incidents of rape occurred. This was significantly more than the 35 recorded between January 1 and March 15 this year. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, robberies also declined for the first 74 days in 4 of the last 5 years. Between January 1 and March 15, 2021, 220 robberies were recorded. That number fell to 208 in 2022 and again to 143 in 2023. But in 2024, robberies increased to 151 over the January 1 and March 15 period. 129 robberies have so far been recorded as at March 15 this year. It's the opposition to break-ins which have increased over the 5-year period. Between January 1 and March 15 in 2015, 183 break-ins were recorded. However, in 2025, that number grew to 219. The number rose by 20 to 203 from 2021 to 2022 before dropping by 7 to 196 from 2022 to 2023. 2024 saw 180 break-ins, 16 fewer than the year before. It then rose to 219 in 2025, 39 more than last year.
A high-level probe is underway by the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF following a gun find at a warehouse on Marcus Garvey Drive in Kingston on Tuesday. According to the police, 30 firearms and more than 100 rounds of ammunition were seized. The cache includes 24 pistols, 6 rifles, 32 magazines, and 102 rounds of ammunition. The seizure was done in a joint operation by the Jamaica Customs Agency and the Firearms and Narcotics Investigation Division. It's understood the guns were shipped from the U.S. through a courier company. The operation took place after 4 on Tuesday afternoon as the joint team conducted security screenings and intercepted a shipment. The JCF says an investigation is ongoing to identify and arrest all parties involved in the arms trafficking. Tuesday's find follows another in February, in which the police seized 66 firearms and 4,700 rounds of ammunition at Kingston Wharves. The haul reportedly consisted of mostly 9mm handguns. A truck driver was charged earlier this month in connection with the seizure.
Licensed firearm holder Patrick Thompson, who is accused of killing 2 women and injuring 3 others last month, has been remanded in custody until April 2. Thompson made his second appearance in the Manchester Parish Court on Tuesday. That should be on Wednesday. The matter was set for a bail application hearing, but his attorney, King's Counsel, Peter Champagny, says the hearing was deferred after it was revealed that the incident may have been captured on CCTV camera.
And in those circumstances, we would want to have a look at that, because that will most certainly, if there is clarity in terms of any footage, direct the way forward in a very certain way. This does not mean that our instructions have changed. The position is that at the material time, our client acted in self-defense and was concerned about certain other issues. But again, I don't want it to be a case where we are seeking to say too much and appearing to be trying the case in public. In the circumstances, we are going to await the information and put ourselves again in a state of readiness for the bail application.
KC Champagny is expressing concern about the length of time it will take for the defense to be provided with the raw footage.
It is very unusual, I would add. Normally you'd wait on the official report, CFCD, and that would take months. Raw footage is something that I don't see a challenge with, and hence the concern that Ms. Campbell and I expressed in court this morning. One can never be okay with any time when one's client is in custody. The sooner the better. So from that perspective, we are concerned. We can't understand why it is that it will be taking so long, but sufficient until the day.
Peter Champagny, King's Counsel. Attorney Samoy Campbell is also representing Thompson. Thompson, otherwise called Big T or Tomo, an engineer of Caledonia District in the parish, has been slapped with multiple charges. They include murder, attempted murder, wounding with intent, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, possession of firearm and ammunition with intent to commit injury, and using a firearm to commit a felony. The charges stem from a shooting incident in Levi Lane on Sunday, February 23. The deceased are 42-year-old Stacey Ann Mulgrave of Barnstable District, Manchester, and 46-year-old Anne-Marie Hanson of Caledonia Road, Manchester. Police reports are that Thompson was at a candlelight vigil when he and a man got into an argument over a motor vehicle accident. The argument escalated, causing a crowd. It's alleged that Thompson opened gunfire at the crowd, hitting multiple people before leaving the area. The injured people were assisted to hospital, where Mulgrave and Hanson were pronounced dead, and the others were admitted for treatment.
Former president of the Medium, Small and Micro Enterprise MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall, is welcoming NCB's creation of a $1 billion SME Growth Fund as a good first step. The Growth Fund was announced by NCB earlier this week to assist SMEs with low-cost financing. The move comes amid continued outcry from all corners regarding the high interest rates being charged by commercial banks. Mr. Wignall says this initiative must be built upon to satisfy the needs of the sector. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
NCB says the fund will be available from March 31, 2025. It will remain open until the full allocation is disbursed. NCB CEO Bruce Bowen says SME Growth Fund is part of a broader strategy to ensure that more entrepreneurs can invest in their businesses, expand their operations, drive job creation, and build long-term success. Businesses have been urging the nation's commercial banks to reduce interest rates, which have remained stubbornly high despite Bank of Jamaica's recent reductions. NCB says the fund will also provide a special interest rate reduction of up to 3% on loans for working capital and capital expenditure projects. Additionally, NCB is applying a 0.25% reduction across all SME loan products. Mr. Wignall welcomed the initiative but called for some clarity.
What I'm seeing coming out of NCB now is a move in the right direction, but I need some more clarity on the rate, exactly what is being offered, if it's 9.5%, which I still think is very high, or it's 9.5 minus 3%, which would be absolutely wonderful. I'm minded to think that it's probably, the base rate of 9.5%. And mind you, these are for productive loans, loans for capital injection, loans for capacity building, and I probably think there might be some debt consolidation in there. But of course, the devil is usually in the details.
Eligible businesses must have annual revenues between $15 million and $425 million, registered for at least 2 years, and have been in operation for a minimum of 1 year. However, Mr. Wignall still believes the government should utilize its deposits in financial institutions as a potential bargaining chip to get further concessions.
Based on the proposals that were on the table, specifically speaking to the people's money, majority of the billions of dollars which belong to the people are in the two major banks. The proposal that was put out, I think it was by the opposition, that we leverage those funds to cause the banks to have some sort of behavior modification as far as the reduction of their rates are concerned, commensurate to what the BOJ reduces their rate to in order to cauterize inflation.
Meanwhile, Industry Minister Auburn Hill similarly welcomed the launch of the fund. He's encouraging further action on the part of all banks.
They have taken the opportunity as well to reduce the rate that they're going to offer this facility by about 3%. And that's just fantastic news because, as you will remember, a few weeks ago, maybe 2 months now, I was first out of the block saying the central bank had reduced at that time its interest rate to banks from August to December about 4 times, and the banks had not yet moved. I'm pleased to see that NCB is the bank that has moved first. It makes sense. They're the biggest bank, but I'm pleased that they have moved, and I'm now looking to see other banks will follow them, and especially that NCB at this time is offering this particular facility, a special facility, to the MSME section in the economy, which is the most needy.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 27 out west in Montego Bay.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
How are this
For
on my
more
TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or
Here ya,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently. But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake.
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait, I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
Digicel, live life your way, no free what? Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua with round-trip flights on us. Every week you could win exciting prizes, event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now with Digicel. Better connected.
Promotion ends March 31. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Continuing the news, Executive Director of the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, Shanique Bowden, is expressing frustration over the delayed implementation of a school nutrition policy in Jamaica. According to the advocacy group, there has been a growing crisis of non-communicable diseases in Jamaica. They include obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. Ms. Bowden was speaking at an editors' forum on healthy food policies for children and youth at the UA Regional Headquarters on Wednesday.
We had a similar event essentially a year ago, and while I was reflecting on this morning and everything, I was thinking to myself, it is absolutely disheartening that I can't come here today a year later and say, we have a school nutrition policy. Last year when we had our editors forum, we spoke at length about why the school nutrition policy is important, to ensure that our children have access to healthy food in schools, physical activity, nutrition counseling, and those sort of things. And we've heard in the last year several promises from our policymakers to finalize this policy to ensure that our children have the access that they deserve. So, lots of empty promises that we're hearing. And I started to go down a sort of rabbit hole and thinking about just the time that has passed since.
She says there have been discussions about this policy from as far back as 2019. Ms. Bowden also noted that an official draft of the policy was done in 2022.
One of our first references that we can find about the school nutrition policy and its finalization actually came in January 2019, when then Minister of Education, Will Reid, said that the policy will be finalized this month, January 2019, and our children will have access to healthy foods in school. Then we had the green paper finally coming out in 2022, a full 3 years later, and they opened up for consultations, and many of us did contribute to that consultation process. And then 903 days ago, they had the student consultation where they met with some 600 young people in person and online to hear from them about what they want to see with the school nutrition policy, why it's important to them. And still nothing.
Shanique Bowden, Executive Director of Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network. The advocacy group has noted that the prevalence of ultra-processed foods and sugar-sweetened beverages in school environments has contributed significantly to the growing crisis. It says research has shown that marketing has a big impact on children's food preferences, and this is increasing their consumption of unhealthy foods.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, has dismissed allegations that his administration has not been transparent about the sale of a seized mega yacht and how the proceeds were used. The Alpha Nero, a 267-foot vessel, was initially abandoned in Antigua's waters in February 2022 by Russian oligarch Andrei Guriev. The Antiguan government seized it in April 2023 and later auctioned it off. It sold for $40 million. But in a March 11 filing in federal court in New York, attorneys for a Russian woman who claims she is the rightful owner of the vessel alleged that Brown's administration has not released documents related to the sale of the yacht. The attorneys are seeking documents and information related to wire transfers and other transactions involving Antigua's prime minister and 6 other people, as well as 12 entities in the past 5 years. The people targeted include Brown, one of his sons, his wife, Antigua's accountant general, and its port manager. The judge has granted the attorneys permission to issue subpoenas to access the financial records of Prime Minister Brown and other officials. In a statement on Tuesday, Prime Minister Brown said he's discussing legal remedies with his attorneys in Antigua and the U.S. He also told the Associated Press that his attorneys may challenge the judge's ruling.
U.S. President Donald Trump has held what he described as a very good hour-long phone call with his Ukrainian counterpart, Vladimir Zelensky. This comes a day after speaking to Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Writing on his social media platform Truth Social, Trump said the call was aimed at aligning Ukraine and Russia in terms of their requests and needs. He added that ceasefire efforts were on track. President Zelensky himself described his conversation with Trump as positive, frank, and very substantive. Writing on X, he said, "We believe that together with America, the President Trump, and under American leadership, lasting peace can be achieved this year." Both Zelensky and Putin have said they would agree to halt attacks on energy infrastructure. However, both have since accused each other of continued attacks. Trump is seeking a wider truce. But in their phone call on Tuesday, Putin rejected a full 30-day ceasefire backed by the U.S. and Ukraine.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, murders have declined sharply for the first 74 days for each of the last 5 years.
This is according to data requested from the JCF.
30 guns and more than 100 rounds of ammunition seized at a warehouse on Marcus Garvey Drive on Tuesday.
MSME Alliance wants more details about NCB's $1 billion SME Growth Fund.
I need some more clarity on the rate, exactly what is being offered. The devil is usually in the details.
Donovan Wignall. I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Trans-Jam highways. The T-Tag system reduces the amount of cash handled at our toll plazas and makes it safer for our staff and motorists at the toll booths. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost-efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, has announced that they have been formally removed from restricted funding by football's world governing body, FIFA. The JFF had been placed on restricted funding by FIFA due to governance and financial issues in 2020. This resulted in the federation receiving limited funding in smaller increments. President of the JFF, Michael Ricketts, says it had been tedious work addressing the issues while regaining greater economic support.
This is welcome news. We are just absolutely delighted. It was certainly a job very well done, and I must use this opportunity to express my absolute regard to our accounting department and, of course, and our GenSec. And I know sometimes that we felt frustrated, and I'm pretty certain that they would have gotten that feeling as well. When we thought that things weren't going well, we would have had a number of meetings. I remember calling a meeting while we were at the FIFA Congress in Bangkok, and I really was intent on getting from the horse's mouth what the issues were.
The JFF was asked to ensure their financial records are clean and audited statements are delivered on time in order to satisfy FIFA's requirements to have the restrictions lifted. Head of MA Finance Services at FIFA, Christophe Supiguer, said FIFA recently completed an audit of the JFF and the feedback received indicates significant improvement.
The FIFA appointed auditors from Ancora have shared the report with us, and indeed it showed massive improvements when it comes to financial governance matters, as for instance the member association successfully accessed online banking system, they have upgraded the accounting software system, and additionally also made other efforts with regard to procurement procedure, for instance. Also, the level of supporting documentation has massively been improved, and the FIFA-funded activities were fully supported with supporting documentation.
Christophe Sepiger. Tivoli Gardens are into the top 6 of the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League after outscoring Dunby Holden 4-2 in their game at Royal Lakes on Wednesday. Tivoli actually led 3-1 in the second half with a brace from Anthony Nelson, adding to a second-minute lead given to them by Rashawn Oldfield. However, Dunby Holden roared back with goals from Damien Binns and Tyrese Winter before Lennox Russell stepped up with a goal in the 82nd minute to make the game safe for Tivoli. Tivoli are now on 42 points, one ahead of Racing United, who have 2 games in hand. In another completed game on Wednesday, Portmore United beat Harbourview 2-0 at Compound to solidify 4th spot. Jaheen Rose and Orlando Russell were on target for Portmore, who are now on 53 points at 7 off third place Montego Bay United, who play on Thursday. There's one more game on the schedule today. Bottom place Vere United are facing Waterhouse at Jerusalem this evening at 6. The race to become the world's most powerful figure, that's the most powerful sports figure, has entered the finishing straight, with the International Olympic Committee IOC members now in Greece to elect a new president for the first time since 2013. The winner will replace the German Thomas Bach and become just the 10th person to hold the highest office in sport, taking the role for at least the next 80 years. The IOC has chosen for its 144th session a luxury hotel in the plush seaside resort of Costa Novino, about 60 miles south of Olympia, the birthplace of the ancient games, where an opening ceremony for the gathering took place earlier this week. But with all the candidates still trying to secure support for their fellow members, the atmosphere is tense before what some are calling the most important IOC election for decades. The IOC, a mix of royalty, former athletes and leading figures from the world of law, politics and business, will conduct an electronic secret ballot with each member casting 1 vote per round in an intriguing process that has drawn comparisons with the way cardinals choose a new pope. IOC members must hand in their mobile phones before entering the auditorium, and compatriots of a candidate cannot vote until that individual is eliminated from the process. In total, 106 of the 109 members are present, and an absolute majority, meaning more than 50% of the votes, is needed for a candidate to win. If none achieve that in the first round, the candidate with the fewest votes will be eliminated, and additional rounds will then be conducted until someone has an absolute majority in what is thought to be one of the closest races in the IOC's 131-year history. Most insiders are predicting several rounds of voting amongst those looking to take over from the German Thomas Bach as president of the IOC, the current World Athletic President, Lord Sebastian Coe. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you. The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:32.
Win with love. Use your JMMB Money Transfer Prepaid Visa Card from October 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025 for a chance to win your share of a $2.1 million grand prize. Plus, a $100,000 university cash grant and cash back from paying tolls and shopping with your card. Receive money 24/7 in minute with Visa Direct via MoneyGram, Zoom, Remitly, or directly through RIA and Zoom. Visit jm.jmmb.com/money-transfer for full details on how to enter and win with love. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply.
Are you ready to debate, dominate, and drive change? The public sector debate competition is back, bigger, bolder, and better than ever. Public sector employees, this is your chance to showcase your skills, sharpen your arguments, and tackle the nation's biggest issues head on. Don't wait. Registration closes March 28, 2025. Sign up now at publicsectortransformation.gov.jm. Brought to you by the Transformation Implementation Unit, building a better public sector for all.
Digicel, live life your way, no free what? Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua. With round-trip flights on us, every week you could win exciting prizes. Event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now. With Digicel, better connected.
Promotion ends March 31. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Attention procurement officers looking for office furniture? Call Econo Office and School Supplies. We also offer stationery, office equipment, printing supplies, school supplies, shredder servicing, and custom stamps. Visit us at 40.5B Red Hills Road, Kingston. Call 876-620-8820 or WhatsApp 876-208-2233. Visit our website at econo-oss.com. Econo Office and School Supplies Limited, your one-stop shop for all office and school needs. Let us simplify your life.
Stop buying expensive toner cartridges. Global Ink is now selling new factory direct generic toners. Remove factory seals, install and print. Engineered to work first time, every time. Certified for use in HB and Brother printers. Worry-free, affordable printing for your peace of mind. Money saved is money earned. We deliver island-wide. 754-7444 or 1-888-NEED-INK. Never run out of toner again. Global Ink.
March into savings with ATL's March Madness Sale. Get up to 50% off select appliances, electronics, and hard-to-find parts all month long. Upgrade your home and business with everything you need at unbeatable prices and best quality brands. Shop in store at Kingston, Ocherias, and Montego Bay. Or beat the traffic and buy online at atljamaica.com and get island-wide delivery. ATL, the best brands and the best service. Sale ends March 31 while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Experience the joy of buying a brand new Hyundai without breaking the bank. Yes, buying a brand new car should never leave you broke. From stylish designs and safety features to comfortable driving and reliability, Hyundai is the choice. Hyundai vehicles come standard with 2 years free service and 5 years warranty and roadside assistance for your peace of mind. Drive 2 years without service cost and 5 years without fear of being stranded. Hyundai. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon, listeners. A pleasant good afternoon to you, and welcome to the Cover Story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
My name is Sanjay Lewis. Good afternoon, Siobhan, and good afternoon to our listeners. For Cover Story this afternoon, we are gauging reactions to the budget presentation made by opposition leader Mark Golding. And during his contribution to the 2025-2026 budget debate on Tuesday, opposition leader Mark Golding pledged to dramatically increase access to affordable housing in the country. Among those programs is a $1 billion loan facility for young first-time buyers.
We recognize that often the hardest hurdle for young people in buying a home is the deposit. Well, young people, we have you in mind. Yes. The next PNP government will establish a special Young Owners Deposit Fund of $1 billion within the NHT. Yes. Using those NHT resources to enable young persons under 35 years of age to access $500,000 towards their deposit once they have been an NHT contributor for 2 years or more.
Mr. Golding also vowed to end the annual transfer of $11 billion from the National Housing Trust to the Consolidated Fund. The program of NHT drawdowns was initially implemented by the previous PNP administration, but was continued under the current Andrew Holness administration. Mr. Golding also promises that a future PNP government will absorb the insurance payments for the NHT loans for low-income earners.
And the opposition leader also put forward a rent-to-own initiative through the Housing Trust. He says the scheme will allow persons who cannot save enough to pay the deposit to buy a house and will be able to rent an NHT house under the NHT rent-to-own program. Mr. Golden says once a specified portion of the rent payments added up to the deposit, they will be treated as having paid it and can access a mortgage for the balance to buy a house.
Many people earn their living in the informal sector in Jamaica, and they are not able to produce a payslip to establish their income. Many other people have formal employment, but they end up paying rent because they cannot afford to save for the deposit to pay down on a house. We will roll out the NHT rent-to-own plan to address these two situations. A person earning in the informal economy who can't produce a payslip, but who wants to buy an NHT house, will be able to go into possession as a tenant, paying a monthly rent equivalent to a mortgage loan payment. And by establishing their ability to pay over a relatively short period of time, they will then be deemed eligible to access the mortgage loan from the NHT to buy the house. Having established proof of payment, they don't need to produce a payslip.
That's Opposition Leader Mark Golding. He was making his contribution to the 2025-2026 budget debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Well, joining us to discuss further many of these housing initiatives, we're joined by the first Vice President of Realtors Association of Jamaica, Judy Benjamin, and President of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Alliance, that's Antoinette Hamilton. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Let's start with you, Judy Benjamin. What do you make of those initiatives outlined in terms of housing by the opposition leader?
Okay, so as always, we as realtors or the real estate industry, we always welcome any initiative that is going to allow people to own their own home in an easier way. You know, we recognize the importance of home ownership. The ideas seem to be good. My hesitation is there's some questions. So I know that this is like a framework, and then the meat will be put on after, so we won't have all the information. But when I think about absorbing the cost of the insurance, you wonder when we remove that 11.4 billion from the budget to do these things, what happens to the budget? What's the trade-off for it? I think the ideas are good. It's a good intention, but like everything else, we have to wait to see how it will work. So we don't have a rent-to-own culture in Jamaica, so that will take us a little while to get going. The other thing that you didn't mention, but it jumped out at me, is that he mentioned using the HAJ as our lead developer of low income. I would love us to do a study on the effectiveness of what they have done in the past compared to other low income developers. You know what I mean? So I think it needs some tweaking. There are questions, but we appreciate the effort in order to make home ownership more viable for more people in the country. There's one thing that is a pet peeve of mine, that it speaks to public sector workers. A lot of the initiatives surround our public sector workers, and we appreciate them, we laud them for what they do. But, sometimes when I think about teachers, I think about those who are not in the public sector, but have taken some of the burden off of the public sector.
Yes.
Have we looked at expanding those kind of the net in that kind of way? So there are things that I think can be done, but I think it's a good start. We just need to be the stakeholders need to come together to flesh them out to ensure that they are, we can do them. Truth is that anything the government puts its mind to, if it has the backing and the stick-to-itiveness to get it done, I know we can do it. So if we're looking at housing in a serious way, we can do it. You know.
Let me
That's
bring
my thought.
Antoinette Hamilton in the conversation. Your thoughts on Mark Golding's presentation?
Okay, so my thought was that when I listened, I was really surprised because what it demonstrates is that the opposition leader is on the ground. He's hearing from the ordinary Jamaicans, the hairdressers, the taxi operators, the nail technicians, the barbers, that, look, we can't afford these houses. We are getting 7.5 million from the NHT. There's no house on the market for that right now. And most of those houses will put their families, separate families, because they're mainly in the rural areas, and most of these persons would like to stick to their families. And so when I heard about assisting with, deposit, assisting with, the rent to own, especially that one, that was, very good. And I mean, it at least gives hope to those ordinary Jamaicans who feel like owning a home is out of their reach. And so I thought that was very good. However, it must come with, as Judy said, the political will and, transparency to ensure that the masses benefit from this. But to Judy's point, once you start the construction industry, you're going to have economic activity. So I'm not too worried about where the money will come from, because what we need right now is economic activity to take place so that there is growth. And if you're fueling the construction industry in a way that it will generate revenue and increase in tax collection, then I think that somewhat will help to cushion these initiatives. But excellent in terms of solution-oriented, I must say that when I heard the opposition leader spoke of this and other things, it was clear to me that they are listening not only to the ordinary Jamaicans, but the private sector. And let it be clear that the government don't know everything. And so it is important that they consult with the communities that are experiencing these challenges and respond accordingly. And I think he has done that.
We're up on a break. Ladies, please stay with us.
Clear your barrels and personal shipments with ease and convenience. Request a customs contactless clearance today through CCP at jca.gov.jm. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is...
It's 5:46.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jack my figure dig the wall. Upper Total Tools. Lead back a figure trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand. Total Tools. We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slive Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
I pursue opportunities.
I prepare for opportunities.
I plan for opportunities.
With Sagicor e-Invest, you can prepare, plan for and pursue IPO opportunities. Browse IPOs, review IPO details and prospectuses. Select and apply for a featured IPO.
IPO.
With Sagicor e-Invest. Think wealth. Visit sagicor.com.
Welcome back to Nationwide at 5. We're discussing engaging reactions to Mark Golding's presentation in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. And we have with us Judy Benjamin. She's the first Vice President of the Realtors Association of Jamaica. And we also have Antoinette Hamilton, the President of the MSME Alliance. And before the break, Judy, you mentioned the matter of the Housing Agency of Jamaica. And Mr. Golding did suggest that the housing, the HAJ, should be the lead developer for low-income housing and building, he says, 50,000 affordable houses in 5 years. Now, from your experience, does the government have the capacity to execute a project of this scale effectively?
Then He didn't outline exactly if they would be the actual builders or if they would manage the builders. You know, because right now the government will build, and the government also partner with others to build. So I got the impression that he's saying that if he means that the HAJ will be building, then I think that we have to look at that more closely. But if it is that the HAJ will manage the projects that will come under this initiative, then I'm sure that they would have the skill set to do it. You understand what I mean? So it depends on what role the HAJ will play.
And Judy, I'd also like you suggested that Jamaicans don't have this whole rent to own or lease to own culture. And and looking back now, I've seen that this was put forward by the Prime Minister in 2022, and I'm seeing other similar proposals going back as far as 2017. Why has this never actually been explored in any actual depth?
So what happens, outside of the government, what happens is that when you're going to rent to own, you have to decide on the price today. So you decide on the price today. Normally, not in how he has explained it, but in the market. You decide on the price today. You make a deposit, and then you pay over certain years, and then you close the sale. What happens in Jamaica is that it is very difficult for me to agree on a price today for 5 years down the road. Because you can't get into this arrangement without knowing the cost of the house.
The final cost.
So culturally, it has never been. But in the way that he describes it, maybe it is something that can work.
And also, how does this proposal differ now?
No, well, he didn't mention. You see, we don't have the details of it, so I can't say to you that it differs. He did say that the person. I think it was more a way to get people to qualify. Than because he mentioned it around people who may not have a steady pay slip. So the fact is that you're going to rent it to show that you're able to pay this money, and then you will purchasing it. So the details of how it will work hasn't been discussed with us. So from what he said, it came across more as a way to make sure that the people who don't have a pay slip are able to show consistency in their ability to pay. Which I want to say that I'm glad that the NHG is looking at that, because outside of the rent to own, the concept of having people outside of our formal work environment qualify is something that some of the building societies have been doing for a while. You look at the track record, they have to save with you for a year, things like that, to show that the people are able to afford it. So I think that it is good that we're looking at ways, because let me tell you, Siobhan and Sanjay, almost every single Jamaican who we interact with has another source of income.
Yeah.
More than before. So it's important.
Yes. Antoinette Hamilton, I want to focus a little bit on suggestions that Mark Golding put forward as it relates to the MSME Alliance. Now, one of the things he indicated is that a proposed increase to the employment tax credit, the ETC, from 30% to 40% to encourage companies to hire more full-time employees rather than relying on contract workers. Would this tax relief help MSMEs to expand and formalize employment, or do you think that other incentives should be considered?
Sanjay, thank you for that. But let me just drop in one before you go there.
Sure.
For business owners, one of the challenges that we face now is that a lot of the smaller business owners, they want to stop contributing to NHT. Why? Because they're not going to qualify. They want to stop filing taxes, and you have to be encouraging them to just have faith, keep looking. They just want to stop so we are losing tax revenue, because they want to stop, because when they look out in the market, they can't find anything that they can buy with 7.5 million. So I just want to plug that as it relates to the business community that we serve. This is the feedback that we're getting, right? They want to stop paying taxes.
But Anthony, Anthony?
Yes, go ahead, Judy.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I want to jump on that before she goes on to the tax. So the thing about it is that it's almost like we have to have a shift in our mind. I don't think the NHC can afford to give us everything we need. Because you know what? When the NHC increases what it gives, the house prices follow right behind it.
Right. That is why we have to look at creative ways.
Yes, so some of these things that you have mentioned are really very good.
Right. Right.
You know, so that's why it will push up the prices as sometimes when we just give more. You know, that tends to push our housing prices up. So like the rent to own is great and so on. But I'm not taking over your time, Anthony.
No, but that's an interesting point, Judy, because part of the challenge that you find is, and I can hear you on, I want to hear you on it, Antoinette, is that every time NHT, as indicated, increase the amount that is made available, the prices for the houses also go up. So it's difficult, so to speak, for the NHT to catch up with what the market is selling.
Right, and that is why the approach to building affordable houses, maybe the reason why the approach has been taken to put back that 11 point something billion into the fund is to support the building of more affordable housing. I think that is the strategy behind that. Yes. That's my interpretation. So I think that is the strategy behind that. To your point, though, about the employment tax credit.
Yes.
Yes. MSMEs do employ persons. I'm a micro, right? And I employ 4 persons, 2 from heart, 2 permanent. Yes, the employment tax credit will help, but of course, MSMEs struggle a lot with cash flow. So that in itself is on the back end. Yes, they may file, but they're not filing on time and paying on time. So they still don't benefit, because to benefit from the employment tax credit, it means that you have to file on time, you have to pay on time, and that is how you get it. But yes, for those who can afford to do that, excellent, because what it means is that it's a credit, so it reduces your tax liability. It's not like the annual, the accelerated capital allowance, where that is a deduction, so it's treated as an expense. This one is a direct reduction in your tax liability, and so it will benefit those who tend to have a bigger payroll or has profit that is above a particular amount that is taxable. So yes, it will benefit. And what you find, Sanjay, is that the employees know they're demanding to go on the payroll because they want to benefit from the NHT. So at least this will provide some incentive for the businesses to put them on, because they can benefit on the back end. Mark you, it's at the end of the year that they benefit, but they still do.
Judy, Benjamin?
Yes.
I'll have to ask, you suggested that putting the $11 billion back to the NHT would help boost the housing, but how do you square that with the fact that Mr. Golding also pointed out that there's massive capital under expenditure at the NHT in excess of that $11 billion, meaning projects are not getting off the ground even without that $11 billion?
Well, he did say that he's going to complete all the projects that are halfway done, you know, the ones that have stalled. He's going to breathe some life into them. My question about the 11.4 is that it is being used to fund the nation. So I just want us to be clear on where we're going to get that excess money from. Anthony did say that maybe, you know, when we start the construction, it will kind of, you know, stimulate some parts of the economy, and maybe it will put it back. But I think that the opposition will tell us how those things will be done in due course. But the other one that was very interesting...
No, but before you go on to that, Judy, but the point that Siobhan raised is still stands, because if the NHT has all that resources that is underutilized now, how is it that that 11 billion that is being transferred is going to be utilized if they can't utilize what they have now, excluding that 11 billion?
Well, that is going to be a question that they will have to answer. Because, you know, I never got the impression from what he said that it was underutilized. I got the impression, I didn't read it how you read it. Yeah, but if that is what he said, that is one of the things that they have to explain to the public. You know, because right now, it seems that the 11.4 billion that is being taken out and put towards our budget, general budget, if I may call it that, is something that he wants to stop doing. So he's bringing back the 11.4 and I thought it was to do some of these things. I believe he just made the NHT more efficient.
No, but the challenge is, Mr. Golding, and I want you to agree or disagree, did not fully explain that point, because sending back the money to the NHT for the funds to sit somewhere and not be utilized, that's not making the NHT any more efficient.
Yeah, that I agree with you there, Sanjay, that we have to, no, hold on. I agree that we need more explanation on some of the things. I don't believe that we can get all of it in this presentation.
But don't you believe that some of these, because I hear a lot of ifs, maybe, possiblies, we're not sure, we don't know. Don't you feel that a little bit more flesh should have been on it during that presentation?
1 second, Judy. Sanjay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say then that if this money is sitting at NHT, I don't know for how long, wouldn't you say that is an indictment on the government? Because they have money sitting there that could help the ordinary Jamaicans own a home by providing more affordable solutions, whether in the rural or corporate. And if it's in the rural, similar to Draxall, you build the ecosystem around it so that people don't feel like they're out in a wilderness by themselves.
The challenge that I have, though, is that if the opposition is coming to say what the government is doing is not efficient and they are coming forward with solutions, the solutions, in essence, must make sense. When you send back that money to the NHT, how are you going to make the NHT more efficient for them to utilize the funds?
I agree with you, and that explanation is required.
Sorry, Anthony.
Go ahead.
So what we have to recognize is that the opposition can't have. I don't believe they may have all of the information. I don't know. That is an assumption I'm making. They are putting forward some ideas that they believe can work. So I read it that the $7.4 billion that they're going to take back out of the budget is going to allow them to reduce the loan on 1%, give the 3 months moratorium, increase the debt service ratio of loans from 33.3 to 40%. It's that's how I saw it. They're going to pay for the insurance. So when I was reading the information, I thought that is where obviously the 11.4 will go to. That's what I thought. Is that what you thought, Anthony?
I agree, because when you listen to the Standing Finance Committee meeting, there are a lot of questions that the opposition was asking about if this includes this or if this includes that. So yes, I agree with you that they may not have the full information. But to Sanjay's point, if it is that they do have the information, then they owe the public an explanation as to why bringing in this 11 billion or million? Billion, couldn't be million. Right, billion. What how will it achieve that objective if the money is already there, not being used?
Well,
yes,
I don't think I'm not sure, Siobhan, if I heard him speak about the money that is sitting there not being used. Maybe I missed that part.
He spoke to the capital under expenditure at the NHT.
Pardon me?
He spoke to the capital under expenditure at the NHT, yes.
Oh,
and remember, this has been a long-standing problem. Remember, if you recall back in when this was brought in place, 2014, 2015, thereabouts, one of the concerns raised, or I said one of the justifications for removing that $11 billion from the NHT, and the NHT had confirmed at the point, is that they were a cash-rich entity and they couldn't spend the money.
Yeah, but guess what? I don't believe that if this has been going on from 2017, I don't know how cash-rich they would be now. If these things that we're talking about are going to cost a lot of money. That $500,000 deposit grant is a grant, not a loan. Those things are going to cost money, and I believe that they may have to bring back that 11.4 billion in order to fund the things that they're talking about. If not, why would they mention it? So going back to my original thought, some meat has to be put on the bones of what they have given us. I think this is just like a taste. And if the meat can be put on it in a way that makes it work, then maybe it may not work. But they have to put the meat on the bones. I mean, we speak about insurance costs. They're going to absorb the insurance. That's a lot. It's a lot. What they're talking about here is a lot. So I just think that they have the political will and the expertise to put them into play.
Understood. That is
I
Judy.
have one other question, though.
We're well over time. I'm sorry. I wish we could entertain further, but we're well over time.
Okay.
The first Vice President for the Realtors Association of Jamaica, Judy Benjamin, and President of the Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise MSME Alliance, Antoinette Hamilton. Thank you both for joining us, ladies.
Thank you,
Sanjay.
Thank you very much.
All right, all the best.
It is now time for the headlines.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
3 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Former president of the Medium, Small and Micro Enterprise MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall, is welcoming NCB's creation of a $1 billion SME Growth Fund as a good first step. The Growth Fund was announced by NCB earlier this week to assist SMEs with low-cost financing.
What I'm seeing coming out of NCB now is a move in the right direction, but I need some more clarity on the rate, exactly what is being offered, if it's 9.5%, which I still think is very high, or it's 9.5 minus 3%, which would be absolutely wonderful. I'm minded to think that it's probably, the base rate of 9.5%. And mind you, these are for productive loans, loans for capital injection, loans for capacity building, and I probably think there might be some debt consolidation in there. But of course, the devil is usually in the details.
The move comes amid continued outcry from all corners regarding the high interest rates being charged by commercial banks. Mr. Wignall still believes the government should utilize its deposits in financial institutions as a potential bargaining chip to get further concessions.
Based on the proposals that were on the table, specifically speaking to the people's money, majority of the billions of dollars which belong to the people are in the two major banks. The proposal that was put out, I think it was by the opposition, that we leverage those funds to cause the banks to have some sort of behavior modification as far as the reduction of their rates are concerned, commensurate to what the BOJ reduces their rate to in order to cauterize inflation.
Donovan Wignall, former president of the MSME Alliance. Meanwhile, Industry Minister Aubin Hill similarly welcomed the launch of the move.
They have taken the opportunity as well to reduce the rate that they're going to offer this facility by about 3%. And that's just fantastic news because, as you will remember, a few weeks ago, maybe 2 months now, I was first out of the block saying the central bank had reduced at that time its interest rate to banks from August to December about 4 times, and the banks had not yet moved. I'm pleased to see that NCB is the bank that has moved first. It makes sense. They're the biggest bank, but I'm pleased that they have moved, and I'm now looking to see other banks will follow them, and especially that NCB at this time is offering this particular facility, a special facility, to the MSME section in the economy, which is the most needy.
Aubin Hill, Industry Minister. A high-level probe is underway by the JCF following a gun find at a warehouse on Marcus Garvey Drive in Kingston on Tuesday. According to the police, 30 firearms and more than 100 rounds of ammunition were seized. It includes 24 pistols, 6 rifles, 32 magazines, and 102 rounds of ammunition. The seizure was done in a joint operation by the Jamaica Customs Agency and the Firearms and Narcotics Division. Executive Director of the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, JYAN, Shanique Bowden, is expressing frustration over the delayed implementation of a school nutrition policy in Jamaica.
We had a similar event essentially a year ago, and while I was reflecting on, this morning and everything, I was thinking to myself, it is absolutely disheartened that I can't come here today a year later and say, we have a school nutrition policy. Last year when we had our Editors Forum, we spoke at length about why the school nutrition policy is important, to ensure that our children have access to healthy food in schools, physical activity, nutrition counseling, and those sort of things. And we've heard in the last year several promises from our policymakers to finalize this policy to ensure that our children have the access that they deserve. So, lots of empty promises that we're hearing. And I started to go down a sort of rabbit hole and thinking about just the time that has passed since.
According to the advocacy group, there has been a growing crisis of non-communicable diseases in Jamaica. Ms. Bowden says there have been discussions about this policy from as far back as 2019.
One of our first references that we can find about the school nutrition policy and its finalization actually came in January 2019, when then Minister of Education, Gloria Reid, said that the policy will be finalized this month, January 2019, and our children will have access to healthy foods in school. Then we had the green paper finally coming out in 2022, a full 3 years later, and they opened up for consultations, and many of us did contribute to that consultation process. And then 903 days ago, they had the student consultation where they met with some 600 young people in person and online to hear from them about what they want to see with the school nutrition policy, why it's important to them. And still nothing.
Meanwhile, Ms. Bowden says recently Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton stated that the draft policy would be taken to Cabinet.
Almost 6 weeks now, Minister Tufton came in Parliament and said it's going to the Cabinet soon. And I think that's the last whisper that we've heard of this policy. And it's just a lot of waiting around, a lot of empty promises. While we focus primarily on marketing to children as just a substantive policy area, it's still all about the school nutrition policy. It's how we are ensuring that our children are living and being maintained in a safe environment.
Shanique Bowden, Executive Director of JYEN. 2 suspects in the attempted robbery of a Feng supermarket on Church Street, Montego Bay, St. James on Tuesday were shot and killed in separate incidents by the police on Wednesday. One of the fatal shooting occurred minutes after 4 this afternoon on Gow Peace Lane in the Salt Spring community. The second occurred at 5 o'clock on Albion Lane in Montego Bay. A pistol was seized in each of the shooting incidents. Reports are that the St. James Beat Officer Patrol Division intercepted at least 2 armed men at the supermarket Tuesday night. The gunmen, armed with a high-powered weapon and a handgun, challenged the lawmen. 2 members of the patrol team were shot and injured in the gun battle. They remain in hospital in stable condition. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
For generations, Jamaican families have trusted Imperial Optical to keep their vision clear and their style sharp. From their first eye exam to the latest in fashion frames, we've been there for every milestone, every moment, and every memory. Whether it's your child's first day at school or your grandparents' golden years, our care spans every age, every stage. Visit Imperial Optical today. Generations of care, generations of trust.
Win with love. Use your JMMB Money Transfer Prepaid Visa Card from October 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025 for a chance to win your share of a $2.1 million grand prize, plus a $100,000 university cash grant and cash back from paying tolls and shopping with your card. Receive money 24/7 in minutes with Visa Direct via MoneyGram, Zoom, Remitly, or directly through RIA and Zoom. Visit jm.jmmb.com/money-transfer for full details on how to enter and win with love. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply.
Total Tools is now open in Drax Hall. Mondays to Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and open on holidays. Visit them at Lot C6, Drax Hall, St. Anne. Telephone 876-972-6328 or 876-373-2729. Total Tools. Every tool, every trade.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, has announced that they have been formally removed from restricted funding by football's world governing body, FIFA. The JFF had been placed on restricted funding by FIFA due to governance and financial issues in 2020. This resulted in the federation receiving limited funding in smaller increments. President of the JFF, Michael Rickett, says it had been tedious work addressing the issues while still regaining greater economic support.
This is welcome news. We are just absolutely delighted. It was certainly a job very well done, and I must use this opportunity to express my absolute regard to our accounting department and, of course, and our GenSec. And I know sometimes that we felt frustrated, and I'm pretty certain that they would have gotten that feeling as well. When we thought that things weren't going well, we would have had a number of meetings. I remember calling a meeting while we were at the FIFA Congress in Bangkok, and I really was intent on getting from the horse's mouth what the issues were.
The JFF was asked to ensure their financial records are clean and audited statements are delivered on time in order to satisfy FIFA's requirements to have the restriction lifted. Tivoli Gardens are into the top 6 of the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League after outscoring Dunby Holden by 4-2 in their game at Royal Lakes on Wednesday. Tivoli actually led 3-1 in the second half with a brace from Anthony Nelson, adding to a second-minute lead given to them by Rashawn Oldfield. However, Dunby Holden roared back with goals from Damien Binns and Tyrese Winter before Lennox Russell stepped up with a goal in minute 82 to make the game safe for Tivoli. Tivoli, they are now on 42 points, one ahead of Racing United, who have 2 games in hand. In another completed game on Wednesday, Portmore United beat Harbourview by 2-0 at Compound to solidify 4th spot. Jaheen Rose and Orlando Russell were on target for Portmore, who are now on 53 points at 7 of 3rd place. Montego Bay United, who are going to be in action on Thursday. There's one more game on the schedule for today. It should be about 15 minutes old, with Waterhouse taking on Vere United. Jamaica's national senior men's football team completing another training session in Kingstown today ahead of Friday's CONCACAF Gold Cup qualifiers against St. Vincent and the Grenadines at Arnos Vale starting at 6 p.m. Jamaica time. The Reggae Boys are one of 14 teams chasing the last 7 spots to regional football showpiece. Goalkeeper Shaquan Davis at Mount Pleasant Academy says the team has what it takes to get the job done.
It's always a vibe here. The guys are very good in terms of the vibe check. I think the players understand one another, and pertaining to the game, I think we're going to do very well. We just have to train and, let's say, execute the task that the coaches have given us.
Goalkeeper Shaquan Davis, Arnott Garden striker Warner Brown is also expressing confidence, and he says he's ready to play his part.
It's another opportunity, and I'm just ready. I'm just working hard. For the past month, I was working really hard and preparing myself so that if I should get the call, I would be prepared and ready for this game.
That's Warner Brown, and the teams will meet again on Tuesday in Kingston, Sabina Park to be exact. The race to become the world's most powerful sports figure has entered the finishing straight, with International Olympic Committee members arriving in Greece to elect a new president for the first time since 2013. The winner will replace the German Thomas Bach and become just the 10th person to hold the highest office in sport, taking the role for at least the next 8 years. The IOC has chosen its 144th session a luxury hotel in the plush seaside resort of Costa Navarino, about 60 miles south of Olympia, the birthplace of the ancient games, where an opening ceremony for the gathering took place earlier this week. But with all the candidates still trying to secure support from their fellow members, the atmosphere in Greece is tense before what some are calling the most important IOC election for decades. The IOC, a mix of royalty, former athletes, and leading figures from the worlds of law, politics, and business, will conduct an electronic secret ballot with each member casting one vote per round, in an intriguing process that has drawn comparisons with the way cardinals choose a new pope. IOC members must hand in their mobile phones before going into the auditorium, and compatriots of a candidate cannot vote until that individual is eliminated from the process. In total, 106 of the 109 members are present, and an absolute majority, meaning more than 50% of the vote, is needed for a candidate to win. If none achieve that in the first round, then the candidate with the fewest votes will be asked to leave, and additional rounds will then be conducted until someone has an absolute majority. In what is thought to be one of the closest races in the IOC's 131-year history, most insiders are predicting several rounds of voting, and President of World Athletics Lord Sebastian Coe is the highest profile contender. A two-time Olympic 1500 meters champ, the 68-year-old oversaw the London 2012 Games before taking charge of World Athletics, and he's bidding to become the first Brit to become IOC boss. All-rounder on Jamaica's national senior women's cricket team, Shadeen Nation, says they're determined to pick up some silverware before the end of the season. The Jamaicans won both the regional knockout and league titles last year. However, they relinquished the Super 50 title when they finished fourth this year. But Nation says losing the T20 tournament is not an option, you know.
Last year, we won both titles of the 50 over and the T20, but unfortunately, we lost the 50 over this year. But we're definitely going back for the T20, most definitely next month.
Shadeen Nation. Finally, Formula One Chief Executive Stefano Domenicali met with the Prime Minister of Thailand to discuss plans for a street circuit Grand Prix in Bangkok. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra said the government would commission, quote, a feasibility study into the possibility of a race in the capital starting 2028. There's an existing track in Buriram, northeast of Thailand, which is accredited by the FIA, the governing body for world motorsport. Domenicali described the plans as impressive. The FIA, a schedule for 2024 of races, will include 4 in the Asia-Pacific region. And that's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:20.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household, and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is
29 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 26 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Singers, songwriters, producers, this is your chance to write your name into Jamaica's rich music history and also win $3 million cash in the JCDC Festival Song Competition.
This is the land of my birth.
And it's now so easy to enter because what? We gone digital. It's all online. Just log on to jcdc.gov.jm. Fill in the form online and upload your entry. Closing date has been extended to March 31. Enter now.
Anywhere I go, I am a Jamaican.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Coveside Concert Series presents Timeless. It happens on March 29 at Plantation Cove, St. Anne, featuring international superstar Dionne Warwick and more stars: Myrna Hague, Queen Marcia Griffiths and Dwayne Stevens. Timeless, March 29. Showtime is 8 p.m. and tickets are now available at Fesco, Fontana Pharmacy, Plantation Smokehouse, and online at coveside.aitix.com.
Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Water Means Food World Water Day Forum and Training Session at Ebony Park, Hart Academy, Osborne Store, Clarendon on Thursday, March 20. Join us for exciting displays, exhibitions from agricultural agencies, on-the-spot prizes and giveaways. Plus, get practical training on water use efficiency for your farm. Don't miss out. Come learn, connect, and celebrate World Water Day. So tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Water Means Food World Water Day Forum and Training Session at Ebony Park, Hart Academy, Osborne Store, Clarendon on Thursday, March 20. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the National Irrigation Commission Limited. Irrigation, making the difference in agriculture.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Boyatings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Boyatings After Dark.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. A special good evening to our friends over there on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. We want you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion, and it's all about the budget debates 2025-2026. That's what we've been tuning into. Yeah, the opposition leader Mark Golding, he had his budget presentation, contributed to the budget presentations yesterday, yeah, and he announced a raft of proposals if the PNP wins the next election, constitutionally due by September this year. So opposition leader Mark Golding, he says the government is attempting to hide its failures to uplift the Jamaican people behind macroeconomic statistics. Those were his words in his 2025-2026 budget presentation. In some of his pointed remarks in the debate, Mr. Golding accused the Holness administration of selling off Jamaica's future to keep itself in power. Now, to some of those proposals, Golding pledged to dramatically increase access to affordable housing in the country. Among those programs is a $1 billion loan facility for young first-time buyers. Yes, and Mr. Golding also vowed to end the annual transfer of $11 billion from the National Housing Trust, NHT, to the Consolidated Fund. He also put forward a rent-to-own initiative through the Housing Trust. He says the scheme will allow persons who cannot save enough to pay the deposit to buy a house, they will be able to rent an NHT house under the NHT rent-to-own program. So these are just some of the policies proposed by the opposition leader Mark Golding during his budget presentation yesterday. So today now we're asking you your reaction to his budget presentation. That is Mark Golding's budget presentation. What you thought of it? Yeah? Let's get some of the reaction on our Instagram platform. Chris Duncan is questioning, where are the numbers? Yeah? Unorthodox says, was that a presentation or a tracing match? Tyrone Lewis says, fiscal indiscipline? Yeah. Step 9 says, budget presentation with no budget. Ideas can yam, just like statistics can yam. All right, let's see if we have some more. Shaz says, empty promises. You can't give us a budget debate without the numbers. Let me see.
Titch is saying the ideas that were announced need further explanation. Anybody can come and say anything, but is it feasible enough, or do they have the wherewithal to implement them? Willie Ryan Wilson saying Mark Golding's presentation was nothing shy of accountability, substance, hope, and clearly a better direction that the PNP intends to take Jamaica. Forever Bless, he had my attention but then lost it when I couldn't hear how he was going to finance all the promises. Yeah? Let me see. Hey, it's Lady Cutchinson says blah. These are the comments on our Instagram. Let me go on over to our X platform where Jay Brown is saying, when will he present a PNP budget? He's questioning rather. Voice of Truth is asking, who will pay for that estimated $10 trillion of free giveaway? The budget presentation was unrealistic. Andre Lawrence says, this isn't a budget presentation. It's more like a campaign rally. All right. Optimist saying he came to debate without a budget. And Sean Forbes says both he and Julianne fell short of my expectation by not having any numbers, especially since he's from the financial sector, knowing how numbers are important. Yeah? Let me go on over to our Facebook platform real quick, then we go to YouTube. Beva Baker is saying, well, the problem with Mark is... All right, me can't say that, Beva Baker. And me and you, they go court. Elorita Mitchell says it was... can't say that either, Elorita. Whoa. Yeah. Help me while I sift through. All right? Tevin Johnson says his speech lacked substance. I want to know how he will finance it. Paulette J. McDonald says wish list. Yeah? Let me see if I can get in some more. Caroline Warren says, can't believe he had to read the pledge. Didn't we all learn that in grade 3? So too coming from Shireen Small, he read the national pledge, giving gestures when he should stand at attention. Christine Reed says, pies in the sky. Yeah? Carlington Bartley saying, I think he's using as a strategy for the Prime Minister to use up a portion of his presentation correcting, then it will get all the attention away from substantial issues. All right. Fitzmatis says totally void of properly structured analysis and strategic thinking, Fitzmatis says. All right, let me see if I can go on over to our YouTubers. Please, may I beg you to take time with me. If I miss out something, don't come at me. All right, your reaction to the budget presentation by Mark Golding yesterday. Let's get to it. All right, let's get to it. Wow. The first comment we Missy can't read none at all. Yeah. It's not that I can't say it, Marco Brooks. It's the little tongue twisters that happened whenever it is that you're presenting. But yes, let's get to it. For Bardrak, pie in the sky. They are all confused. Andrew confused them. All right. Let me see. Omar Clark says he got the opportunity to tell the country his plan. Where are the numbers, sir? What can go so? For McHugh, he's saying that it was a campaign speech. Electro saying that it was a presentation without a budget. Start Girl saying budget without figure is no budget. Yeah? All right. Yeah, man, Jacqueline Thomas, I'm afraid of them over here because, I have to sift through to see what comments I can read because y'all get crazy on our YouTube channel. Let me see. Erica Bennett saying that Mark blew his opportunity. Wilbert Davis saying his budget presentation was a nursery rhyme. Remember the cow jumped over the moon. Wow. Yeah. Some good criticism. We could use some good criticism. Madham says figureless budget. Betsy says no more run with it. Samuel Gale says he can't take care of the people in jungle. How is he going to run Jamaica? All right. A lot of comments coming in. Someone is asking, is that a budget? Yeah, Maxine Anderson, and a hard time indeed. Errol Murray saying it sounds like nice. Yeah, but where the money coming from? It's like a 3-card man. Ken Youth Mullings also questioning where are the figures. Let me see if I can get in some more. 10 years without tax on our back, says Henry Mighty. Wayne White believes that there was no substance. Let me see if I can get through some more. Budget without money is like tricks. Tricks you? Yeah? Wow. Tax upon tax, says Maureen Mackenzie. Cow jump over the moon, dish run away with the spoon. Nonsense, says Kevin. All right, your reaction to Mark Golding's budget presentation. Marlene P. is saying, I was ashamed that he didn't know the pledge. Killian Henry says, 3-card man, yeah? Budget without figures is like food without meat. What can go so? All right. Wow. Jamaican for Life says it was not a budget, but political gimmicks. Wow. Thank you guys so much for your very strong opinions. Welcome them. That's all the time we have. Getting the wrap-up signal. Much appreciated for your participation. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Gas prices are going up effective Thursday, March 20. That's tomorrow. That's according to the state-owned oil refinery Petrojam. Now, Petrojam says E1087 is to move up by $2.34 per liter. A liter of E1090 will also go up by $2.34. Automotive diesel oil will move down by $3.06 per liter. Ultra-low sulfur diesel will see a decrease of $3.06 per liter. The price of kerosene will go down by $2.59. In the meantime, propane cooking gas will go up by a cent, while butane will move up by 25 cents per liter. Further afield, the U.S. Central Bank has cut its growth forecast as it warned President Donald Trump's tariffs were clearly driving up prices. The Federal Reserve released its projections for the world's largest economy on Wednesday. This while keeping interest rates unchanged again, saying it wanted to see how the White House policies unfold. That decision, which was widely expected, kept the Federal Reserve's benchmark interest rate hovering around 4.3%, where it has stood since December. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said that the economy still appeared healthy despite a sharp downturn in sentiment and remarkably high uncertainty. And finally, in the currency markets, at the close of trading today, it cost 157 Jamaican dollars and 66 cents to buy $1 US, 204 Jamaican dollars and 89 cents to buy $1 British pound, and 110 Jamaican dollars, that should be 110, yes, Jamaican dollars and 17 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
The NWC's bill-free promotion is here. Be one of 350 persons to get $20,000 water credit when you pay your bill in full every month until March 31, 2025. And there's more. Oh, yes. You can win $300,000, $200,000, or $100,000 cash in the NWC's bill-free promotion if you register for e-bill and pay your bill in full every month until March 31. Conditions apply. Visit nwcjamaica.com for details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act, a part of the NWC's bucket full of goodies.
Experience the joy of buying a brand new Hyundai without breaking the bank. Yes, buying a brand new car should never leave you broke. From stylish designs and safety features to comfortable driving and reliability, Hyundai is the choice. Hyundai vehicles come standard with 2 years free service and 5 years warranty and roadside assistance for your peace of mind. Drive 2 years without service cost and 5 years without fear of being stranded. Hyundai. Conditions apply.
Need to speak with an officer from the National Land Agency's Land Titles Division? The NLA's QME Flex appointment system allows you to consult with an officer from the Land Titles Division online or over the phone from the comfort of your home or office. Book your appointment today at nla.gov.jm. For more information, call 876-750-5263. The National Land Agency. One agency, one goal to serve you better.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Tune in to Cliff Views Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Water Means Food World Water Day Forum and Training Session at Ebony Park Heart Academy, Osborne Store, Clarendon on Thursday, March 20. Join us for exciting displays, exhibitions from agricultural agencies, on-the-spot prizes and giveaways. Plus, get practical training on water use efficiency for your farm. Don't miss out. Come learn, connect, and celebrate World Water Day. So tune in to Cliff Views Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Water Means Food World Water Day Forum and Training Session at Ebony Park Heart Academy, Osborne Store, Clarendon on Thursday, March 20. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the National Irrigation Commission Limited. Irrigation, making the difference in agriculture.
Taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Voyagings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Voyagings After Dark.
This time signal is sponsored by Janet Global Accreditation, an agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. The time is now
19 minutes going up to 7 o'clock.
Nationwide 90 FM presents a speech by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness at the swearing-in ceremony of ministers. This is paid for by the Office of the Prime Minister.
I'm very pleased this morning to welcome Senator, the Honourable Ambassador Audrey Marks to the Cabinet as Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for efficiency, innovation and digital transformation. I know you have already received a warm welcome in the Senate. Minister Marks will be focusing on two areas of critical importance to the country. The first area that I'm tasking Minister Marks with is the reform of government bureaucracy. This responsibility will entail cultivating a government bureaucracy that is agile. Agility and bureaucracy don't always go together, but I'm sure Audrey will find a way. That is growth-oriented and innovation-driven. One that actively enables entrepreneurship, fosters innovation, and accelerates the implementation of major projects as a critical catalyst for our national pivot to growth. There is no doubt that the stringent fiscal policies we implemented to control excessive government spending have been a success. No question about that. They have reduced public debt, restored macroeconomic stability, and strengthened accountability. However, the very layers of controls, checks, and balances that helped us rein in wasteful spending have now created a new challenge. One that slows down essential approvals, delays critical infrastructure projects, and stifles economic growth. Minister Marks will have responsibility, and I want you to listen to this one carefully, streamlining processes for efficiency and economic development. What's that acronym? SPEED. Streamlining processes for efficiency and economic development, not to be confused with Doge. And appoint an advisory team of public sector stakeholders as she undertakes a comprehensive review of Jamaica's governance arrangements, systems, and processes, and implement targeted reforms that will eliminate inefficiencies, reduce bureaucratic delays, and enhance the ease, or rather the speed, of doing business. So, Minister Marks, your first duty is to get the speed committee in place. I hate to have a committee for speed. But because the subject is so complex and there are many strings that you will have to be pulling, it's always good to have an advisory task force. So let me not use the term committee. It's an advisory task force. Yes, an advisory speed force. I like that one. Yes, so you will appoint the advisory speed force. Now, for the average Jamaican listening, the experience with bureaucracy is probably primarily expressed in the frustration at our tax offices. It's the experience in trying to call a government entity and not getting a response on the telephone. It's the customer service at public offices. It's the tremendous paperwork that you are required to go through. It is the giving of information over and over and over again. It is this small frustrating things which cost you. I was speaking to someone recently who pointed out that they submitted a plan for renovation to their home. They're doing an expansion and they were submitting a plan to one of the parish councils. And just one letter was left off, a description of an item. And it was sent back for it to be reprinted. Now, those of you who understand the cost of reprinting plans. And so this is how we, the average public, experience bureaucracy. And sometimes you can't blame the person who is charged with enforcing the rules of the bureaucracy. They are just doing their job. And they are not paid to exercise discretion or to show initiative or to be entrepreneurial. They are punished for that. So when we say we're establishing, it's not a new ministry, but it will certainly have a new focus within the office of the Prime Minister. This is something that is critical to relieve the pressure points, the pain points on citizens, but to also increase the pace of growth. It is also a signal that the government is listening, that the government cares enough to restructure its own bureaucracy, its own operations, its own business processes, to make life easier for the average citizen. The truth is that bureaucracies become very self-indulgent. They are there to preserve and expand themselves. That's the truth. And unless government review bureaucracy, they grow large and unwieldy. And this is not new to Jamaica. This is the experience right across the world. I was watching the BBC recently, and Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced some significant review to their National Health Service. So it should not be looked upon as, government attempt to pass blame or for some political purpose. No, it is absolutely important that government continually reviews the public bureaucracy, because by nature it is there to serve itself, and governments have to ensure that the bureaucracy serves the people. That's the reality. So this government, we have appointed a minister to ensure that the bureaucracy is serving the people. That's the short of the appointment. So, bureaucracy is also a part of the cost of living. So when we talk about what are we going to do to ease the cost of living, it's not just managing prices to ensure that we have a stable inflationary environment, but it is also treating with some of the issues which cause you to spend unnecessarily. And that's what speed is designed to do. But there's another element of speed, and that is to ensure that critical national projects don't end up dying on the altar of the bureaucracy, which has happened so many times. Projects that could transform Jamaica, when it gets tied up in all kinds of processes, and every part of the bureaucracy wants a part of it, whether it is investigation, accounting, review, all kinds of nonsense, while the people suffer. We have to change that. The people elect us to change that. And I'm saying to the people of Jamaica, we're going to change that. Projects that can transform Jamaica, projects that are in our national interest, these projects must be moved with expedition. Expedition. Because some of the things that they say they save is not really a savings. It's a cost. So, Minister Marks, your mandate will include the reform of public investment and procurement processes to identify and eliminate unnecessary delays in public investments and procurement processes while maintaining transparency and accountability. We have started on that already with some amendments, not the full slate, but what we can get done now, amendments to the Procurement Act. And there are other areas of government that we intend to reform momentarily. To reform development approvals and permitting processes to streamline and simplify approval requirements to prevent major investments from being stalled in administrative limbo. Establishment of, yes, I would definitely clap for that. Establishment of a fast-track mechanism for strategic investment projects while ensuring environmental and regulatory safeguards are met. Fit-for-purpose regulatory and regulations to ensure they are efficient, relevant, and not unduly burdensome. And then leveraging technology for transparency and efficiency, including the use of digital platforms to modernize applications, approvals, and monitoring processes, and promote data sharing and automation across government agencies to reduce manual processing times and enhance service delivery. The second area that you will be focusing on is digital transformation. And I want to thank Minister Dana Morris-Dixon, who previously held responsibility for this area and did an excellent job of moving this forward during her tenure. The new national identification system has gone live. We are improving connectivity with our national broadband project and GovNet. eGov Jamaica will soon be transitioning to the National ICT Authority, and we have the report and recommendations from the National AI Task Force. And let me say this. The government is taking AI very seriously. Much of the bureaucracy that we experience can easily be replaced by AI. Let me not go any further with that. But let me put it in the atmosphere. But there is much more that we need to do to accelerate the pace of Jamaica's transition to becoming a digital society. We need to accelerate the digitization of government processes and services so that citizens are able to access more government services online in the comfort of their homes, so that there is no need to worry about transportation and long lines. Minister Marks has been a pioneer in the digital transformation space herself, having pioneered a business in this field. And I know that she will bring the same innovative spirit and energy to drive the transformation of the government. In both our areas of responsibility, Minister Marks will play a key part in driving the national development agenda. Again, I welcome her as the newest member of the cabinet, and I have every confidence that she will be making great strides in the critical areas assigned to her. I now turn to the Honorable Delano Seavright. I'm also extremely pleased and proud to welcome Senator Delano Seavright as Minister of State in the Ministry of Tourism. And I know I speak on behalf of the Honorable Ed Bartlett. Senator Seavright is very well known in tourism circles, having previously served as senior advisor and strategist to the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism. Senator Seavright has extensive experience in governance, tourism development, corporate communications, and stakeholder engagement. He has been actively engaged in policy development and advocacy efforts that have contributed to key legislative and economic advancements in Jamaica. I know Minister Seabright will also contribute significantly to advancing the national growth agenda, because I am assigning him, I'm not leaving it up to his minister, I'm assigning him specific responsibilities for linkages between tourism and the general economy. Tourism is a critical plank of the Jamaican economy. It serves us well in employment, it serves us well in foreign exchange, it serves us well in consuming products from the economy. But I think we can all agree that there is much more to be derived from tourism. And we want to ensure that the local economy, the average Jamaican, benefits from this incredible, natural, renewable asset, tourism, which is essentially the culture, the people, and the environment. We want to get the most out of it. And so your task, Minister, is to ensure that there is greater linkages, greater connectivity between the tourism industry and the local economy. Every Jamaican must feel the benefit of tourism. So, whether it is in agriculture, through greater consumption of our agricultural output and greater security through long-term supply contracts, whether it is in housing, by ensuring that we have housing for our tourism workers, whether it is in healthcare, by the development of health tourism, the improvement of our hospitals in tourism areas, whether it is in education, whether it is in entertainment, whichever area it is, tourism can play a critical part in the development of those areas in our economy. So, in closing, I want to say how extremely pleased and heartened I am to see highly talented and experienced Jamaicans like Minister Marks and Minister Seabright offering themselves for public service. Public service is not easy. People look at us and they say, oh, they look so good. They don't know the struggles that you go through behind every day to come and stand at the platform, and all the challenges and all the issues that you have to address. So let me just tell you that it's not going to be easy. But I know that you have the necessary skills to cope and conquer. And I know that you will all do well. And I want to thank you both for choosing Jamaica. And as I stand here, I will say that our government does not miss a beat. Through whatever challenges there may be, whether it is a pandemic or a hurricane or some other form of exogenous shocks, there has never been a time when there is a break in our government. We are always at the wheel, steering the country. And whatever point in time in the cycle you may think it is, we don't stop government for that. We continue with our plans and we follow through right to the very end. Because that is the essence of government. It is the ubiquitous, universal, and continuing force for the governance and upliftment of the people. And that is how we have conducted our administration and our government. So welcome to the government, and we look forward to having you in the second and third and fourth and fifth term of this administration. And I take this opportunity to encourage others who may be out there thinking about government. Please let me know if you are interested. I'll find a space for you because we need good people to help with the continuity of government. We need the best minds in our country to apply themselves to government. So I am very pleased and very grateful to have your service. So on behalf of the people of Jamaica, we welcome you. God bless you all, and thank you.
That was a speech by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness at the swearing-in ceremony of ministers. This was paid for by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Jamaica's Spark program is investing $45 billion to improve roads, water, and telecom. Better infrastructure for a better future. The time by Spark is
3 minutes after 7.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Jackama. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electricians. Pan select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
My Mega Mart. With so much to do in one location, make Mega Mart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Mega Mart, the best value by far.
Want to reduce your high electricity bills? Then Peak Energy has the solution for you. From grid tied to hybrid solar inverters with full lithium-ion battery pack. Installation and maintenance packages available. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hill, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
The Watchman, exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional, Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Ukraine learns lesson the hard way. Cockroach no business in a foul fight. This Jamaican proverb aptly describes the geopolitical power grab by the world's 2 great nuclear powers, the United States of America and Russia, and the ill-advised decision by Ukraine to get caught in the middle. Vladimir Putin may be the personification of evil, but his actions in invading Ukraine speak to an inescapable reality and are not without rationale. His predecessor, Mikhail Gorbachev, shortly before his death, shared a Russian perspective worth considering. I quote, "After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Washington grew self-confident and arrogant, leading to the expansion of the NATO military alliance to include former states within the Soviet orbit." End quote. Putin, possibly remembering Nazi Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, grew increasingly concerned that NATO was encroaching too close to Russia's border and unsuccessfully sought reassurances that the US-led coalition would halt its menacing and threatening expansion. Could Ukraine have used a different tact? War was not inevitable, but that would have required President Vladimir Zelensky and his administration in Kiev to swallow some national pride and to demonstrate the skill of a Ukrainian gymnast on the balance beam in pacifying the Russians while defending Ukraine's justifiable claim to being an independent sovereign state. Instead, Ukraine allowed itself to become a pawn in a much bigger game of hegemony, one that it cannot influence, much less win. In the 1970s, during the heady days of the Michael Manley administration, there was a similar miscalculation over America's unease with Jamaica's growing coziness with communist Cuba. Manley's soaring rhetoric in a January 5, 1977 speech was one of many he would give to whip up national fervor in support of his decision to walk hand in hand with Fidel Castro to the mountaintop. I quote, "This government, on behalf of our people, will not accept anybody anywhere telling us what to do in our country. We are the masters of our house, and in our house there shall be no other master but ourselves. Above all, we are not for sale." End of quote from speech by Michael Manley. The Jamaican people endured immense suffering at the hands of the United States State Department and Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. Manley and his Kariba-wearing zealots learned a lesson best summed up by then U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. I quote, "America has no permanent friends or enemies, only interests." End quote. Egged on by the United States and a growing nationalist movement within Ukraine, Zelensky and his administration crossed the proverbial Rubicon, the point of no return. By overplaying his hand, he is in no small measure responsible for provoking the invasion. The casualties on the battlefield and insults meted out to him in the Oval Office by Donald Trump and his Vice President, J.D. Vance, are a high price to pay for Zelensky's reasonable ambition for a sovereign Ukraine, but foolish miscalculation of how to achieve it. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Taboo topics, Voyagings After Dark,
Riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings, each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Voyagings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Voyagings After Dark.
Tune in to Cliff Views Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Water Means Food World Water Day Forum and Training Session at Ebony Park Heart Academy, Osborne Store, Clarendon on Thursday, March 20. Join us for exciting displays, exhibitions from agricultural agencies, on-the-spot prizes and giveaways. Plus, get practical training on water use efficiency for your farm. Don't miss out. Come learn, connect and celebrate World Water Day. So tune in to Cliff Views Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Water Means Food World Water Day Forum and Training Session at Ebony Park Heart Academy, Osborne Store, Clarendon on Thursday, March 20. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the National Irrigation Commission Limited. Irrigation, making the difference in agriculture.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. We're into the third and final hour, and we're staying on the budget, and we're going to have an assessment done of it by one of the newest addition to the government's cabinet. That's Marlon Morgan. You remember, I said there's been 3 budget contributions so far. That is the Finance Minister, Favour Williams, who gave her maiden presentation last week, where she announced that the government will be abolishing income tax for all individuals earning up to $2 million on a phased basis over the next 3 years.
And so, Madam Speaker, the good news. The good news. This government will increase the threshold to $2 million. However, colleagues, remember, we are a responsible government. And so we'll increase the threshold in 3 tranches to 1.8, then 1.9, then 2 million over a 3-year period, starting April 1, 2025. Doing it this way means our hardworking taxpayers don't have to guess and spell next year or the next year or the next year.
And that's Favour Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service. She also announced that for the 8th consecutive year, the government has levied no new taxes to fund its spending plans. The Finance Minister also announced the creation of a micro market for the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Minister Williams says the micro market will be established to meet the needs of MSMEs, requiring between $10 million and $50 million in participating equity capital. In the meantime, on Thursday, the opposition spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, making his contribution to the debate, he pledged that a future PNP government will extend the amount of time tertiary graduates have before they are required to start repaying their loans from the Students' Loan Bureau.
He also pledged to introduce a flat rate for the bills of senior citizens who are customers of the National Water Commission.
I now want to move to how we plan to help those senior citizens, those who are 65 and over. Mr. Speaker, we're going to introduce for our elders or senior citizens who are retired a flat rate for their National Water Commission water bills. A flat rate. So every Jamaican 65 or over will benefit from a capped flat rate that will help to ease the financial burden. They have, and it is not going to be one rate across the board because people have different consumption patterns, right? And so you work out, and we will work out what that rate.
And that's Julian Robinson, opposition spokesman on finance, and opposition leader Mark Golding made his contribution on Tuesday. Mr. Golding is promising to dramatically improve the housing availability in the country. Among those programs is a $1 billion loan facility for young first-time buyers.
We recognize that often the hardest hurdle for young people in buying a home is the deposit. Well, young people, we have you in mind. Yes. The next PNP government will establish a special Young Owners Deposit Fund of $1 billion within the NHT. Yes. Using those NHT resources to enable young persons under 35 years of age to access $500,000 towards their deposit once they have been an NHT contributor for 2 years or more.
That is Opposition Leader Mark Golding. Well, to assess this, we have with us Marlon Morgan. He's a recently appointed senator and also, I believe, a state minister, correct, Mr. Morgan?
No, sir.
Just a senator.
Just a senator.
Of the upper house, where I humbly serve until such time that the most honorable Prime Minister determines otherwise.
Very well. So, Mr. Morgan, your assessment of specifically the contributions of Julian Robinson and Mr. Golding to the budget debate presentation.
Yeah. So I think establishing context for your listeners is an important starting point. You'll recall and appreciate that the PNP has been in opposition some 9 years now. In terms of this Mark Golding iteration, they have been at it for some 4.5 years now, and you would really think, gentlemen, that to the extent that elections turn on, or at least ought to turn on the degree to which a political party can present cogent, credible, coherent, and compelling programs and proposals, because an opposition party is an alternative to the government of the day. And to the extent that the PNP, having all of 4.5 years under Mark Golding's incumbency as party leader, failed to do that in terms of this cycle of the budget debate. They have come with some proposals. A number of them I consider to be not well thought out. A number of them are, quite frankly, half-baked. And most importantly, there has been no costing to what it is that the PNP has placed on the table. And as such, the credibility of these proposals have to be in question, because it cannot be that we're in the throes of the budget debate, the last one before the country is sent to the polls in terms of general elections, and you have failed to come in a very compelling and credible way with a program of proposals as an alternative, and a government in waiting, and of course something that is properly costed so that Jamaicans can look on and come away with a degree of, credibility. That, okay, if we go in this direction, it will not harm the fiscal dynamics of the country, especially
Is it though, Marlon, that you are asking for so much in a budget presentation? Because typically the opposition will come and put what they propose to be the alternative if they form government. And normally the information follows with the costing and all of that. You really expect Mr. Golding to provide the costing on every initiative that he put forward in that presentation he had?
No reasonable and well-thinking Jamaican could necessarily suggest that every granular detail of costing be presented. But what is clear, gentlemen, is that a budget debate, the budget is precisely that. The budget debate turns on the numbers, it turns on the fiscal parameters within which the country is operating, and what at the very forefront of your utterances and proposals in the budget debate must be the financial, the numbers and the finances of the country in terms of what is proposed to be expended and what is essentially available to be expended, matched against, of course, revenues that will perform and, of course, credibly support the budget. So that is what the budget at its heart is about. And to the extent that you would have had all this time to so prepare, it is unacceptable to let the PNP off the hook by coming out with what some people on social media and elsewhere are now describing, gentlemen, as a run-with-it budget, a desperation budget, and a budget which essentially sets out a raft of unrealistic proposals. Because one of the important things to consider, Sanjay and Siobhan, in this, is that so much of what Mark Golding espoused yesterday has to do with seeding revenue, in other words, giving up revenue, not least the $11 billion at the NHT. So you're giving up $11 billion at the NHT, you're setting aside $1 billion at the NHT at the same time to help to give youngsters $500,000 toward the down payment on a housing unit. And in this employer's tax credit, you're proposing to move the existing employer's tax credit from 30% to some 40%. All of that involves giving up revenue. So in short, gentlemen, the PNP is giving up a lot of revenue based on their proposals, but at the same time suggesting that they're going to be doing so much more. The question this evening is how come? How can you be proposing to do so much more with such fewer resources? It doesn't compute, it is not credible, and it is not rocket science, gentlemen, as to why they have not properly costed this thing and present it in clear and no uncertain terms to the people of Jamaica, the very people who they will be calling on in a few weeks or months from now to vote for them to form government.
But tell me, Marlon, as I heard it from one comrade, there is the discretionary aspect of the budget, meaning what priorities the JLP government may have, our future PNP administration may not have. So they might switch some programs that are currently in train to programs that they feel may be more viable. What do you make of that assessment?
I heard the deputy opposition spokesman on finance with that same observation this morning, and it is true. It is indeed the case where there is a discretionary element in any national budget, in the sense that our budget will largely reflect a government's fundamental manifesto undertakings and, of course, their priorities, in the same way we did when we formed government in March of 2016. However, what we're urging the PNP to do is to tell the Jamaican people, set out in no uncertain terms, because when we speak of discretionary spending, gentlemen, you have to understand that the monies that are contained in the budget are earmarked to finance and underwrite certain line items. So what the PNP should be hard-pressed on an evening like this to tell us is, okay, of the things that the Holy Administration proposes to do, which one of them are you going to stand down? Are you going to stand down the water system for the people out in the Greyland, elsewhere in Western Jamaica? Are you going to be standing down the Spark program? Are you going to be standing down the instituted social pension for persons aged 75 and over? We heard Michael Phillips complaining about JUTC buses being rolled out into rural Jamaica. The PNP needs to tell us, will you be scaling back the rollout of JUTC buses such that it operates only in the KMA, the Kingston metropolitan area? Are you going to be depriving the people of St. Thomas and Castleton of the services of the JUTC? Are you going to be purchasing less JUTC buses? What are the things that you're going to be giving up in order to do this discretionary thing that you are now banning about? So in order to give away all of these goodies that you suggest that you're going to give, yes, is it that you're not going to be increasing the income tax threshold and essentially reducing people's income taxes? What are the things that you're going to be giving up? Because every cent in this budget presented by Favour Williams is essentially matched to an item of expenditure. They need to tell us what items of expenditure they will be standing down. Because when we were in opposition, we indicated that this hedge business that they had in relation to oil, that fuel hedge that they had, we indicated that that never did ever keep in our JLP administration. And that is what created fiscal room for us, in part, to have delivered in April of 2016 the move from 592,000 in terms of the income tax threshold to the 1 million that we moved it initially in on a phased basis. So they must come and tell us what they're going to give up.
Except though, Marlon, you will recall that when the JLP was in opposition, that same 1.5 that was the major campaign promise, and that the hedge, you will be utilizing funds from the hedge to fund it. When the JLP went into government, they recognized that enough money wasn't there. And like any other government, they found ways to get the money. So it could be the very same thing for the People's National Party. You don't expect for them, as I said initially, to provide all the granular details. But of course, governments will have their priorities.
Yeah. First of all, Sanjay, you are absolutely technically incorrect on that point about the manifesto undertaking that the JLP gave. So just to be very clear for the benefit of our listeners this evening and the viewers on YouTube, right? The JLP back in February of 2016 gave an undertaking to those Jamaicans who are earning an income of up to $1.5 million. The policy that we conceived of would have applied only to those persons, while the income tax, essentially the threshold for persons earning above 1.5 would continue to be the case. The IMF, you'll recall that we were in the throes of an IMF program. When we one government and took office in March 2016, the IMF essentially indicated that, listen, for simplicity, ease of collection, and seamlessness in the tax regime in the country, it is not appropriate to have two separate thresholds. And so you cannot have 1.5 being the threshold that applies to people earning up to $1.5 million, while you have the $592,000 income tax threshold applying to the people who earn above 1.5. Because indeed, based on the tax relief, you may be providing a disincentive to people to earn in excess of 1.5, because some people who are earning less annually would end up taking home more in real terms than those persons who are actually earning, let us say, 1.6 million or 1.7 million at a time. So in short, and for the benefit of the listeners, in short, what the GLP proposed to do in February 2016, it delivered something fundamentally more, because the idea is that it had to deliver an income tax threshold to everybody across the board, not just the pool of persons to whom the manifesto undertaking was given. So it actually over-delivered, it actually overshot, because the IMF indicated that you cannot have two different thresholds applying. You must just, for simplicity and efficiency purposes, have one standard personal income tax threshold across the board. And so we did it on a phased basis, and we did it in a fiscally responsible way. And you'll recall, gentlemen, that the PNP, Dr. Phillips included, and others like Mark Golding and Peter Bunting would have shouted it down to indicate that, listen, this is going to run us into wreck, this is going to run us off the rails, and we have delivered 1.5 in such an appropriate and sustainable way that we are now able to present our 9th consecutive budget, gentlemen, with no new taxes, and indeed our 10th budget with no net new taxes.
And I hear you, Marlon, but let's go back to that matter of the 1.5. I mean, when you came into power as the JLP, there was obviously some understanding that the reality of governance required that you had to phase it in. You could not necessarily put it in one go. Would they then give that same assessment to the pledges put forward by Mr. Golding and Mr. Robinson in their budget presentations, that maybe we're being unreasonable in the expectation that these are things they intend to put in day one?
Well, first of all, it is for the PNP. It behooves the PNP, led by Mark Golding, to set out a smart timeline as to when what they are proposing will take place. It is not for us to speculate. None of us, gentlemen, have the gift of clairvoyance. And so we do not know what their thinking is, but if it is that they're coming with a manifesto commitment on which they want us to elect them into office, I think it should really be as soon as possible, as we did when we pledged 1.5. Because remember, we took office the March of 2016 and we delivered the 1.5 as of April of 2016, similar to 2007 when we promised the things we promised. We promised, yes, to essentially institute tuition-free education, and we did that in September of academic year 2007-2008, and the free healthcare that we had pledged back in 2007, we delivered that the April of 2008. So it has to be with relatively quick dispatch, because that is what you would have been calling on the people, the electorate, to vote for. So you can't come and ask us to vote for this 500,000 that the PNP is ostensibly proposing to give to young people, and then you only deliver it in year 4 or year 5 of a term of office. And what we're saying is that the PNP simply does not have the capacity to do what it is proposing. This is simply a run-with-it budget. The PNP doesn't have a track record, as it were, of doing things in a responsible way in terms of, yes, presiding over no new taxes. And if you go the route of giving these persons your vote, you will essentially be setting up a situation where we get back to the days of heavy taxation in this country, because you cannot have so much revenue being given up based on what Mark Golding and Julian Robinson have announced in their respective budget presentations, and then seeking to do so much more on the expenditure side. The two don't reconcile. You're giving up a lot while proposing to spend more. Taxation will have to come into the mix, and it is for that precise reason why Mark Golding at no point yesterday indicated in an emphatic way that the PNP that he leads will not resort to new taxes.
I hear you, Morgan. I want to turn to the NHT, but please stay with us for after the break.
Apply for your Sagicor Bank Preferred Prepaid MasterCard today. Load your remittances for everyday spending. Receive cash transfers from any local bank. The time by Sagicor Bank is...
It's 7:31. We're talking the budget debates, and we have with us Senator Marlon Morgan, who is really attacking some of the promises made by the opposition regarding their pledges if they form the next government. And I would like Mr. Morgan to speak about the NHT, because as I understood it, when the $11 billion drawdown was taken from the NHT back in 2014 or thereabouts, it was under the premise that the NHT was very well capitalized and that at that point it was so cash rich that it was essentially just wasting money. And I don't know if that reality has changed. Could you suggest to me, is there some suggestion that this 11 billion is somehow putting the NHT in a difficult position?
Excellent question, Siobhan, and I'll share this with you and I'll share this with the listeners. Favour Williams, our first woman finance minister, went to great lengths last Tuesday to indicate that this administration stands on a platform of fiscal responsibility. Indeed, we are about fiscal discipline and not running with it. When the government considers the financial state and health of our public bodies, in this case, for example, the National Housing Trust, the determination is that based on the endowment of the NHT, based on its program of work in terms of the medium term, tapping the NHT for the $11 billion would not be inimical to the interest of prospective homeowners in this country, indeed the interest of working class Jamaicans. In other words, the two things can happen simultaneously, because the truth of the matter is that given the fiscal program that the government has before it, and based on the critical deliverables, including certain capital expenditures, not least the Spark program and other infrastructure work, so as to bring water to more communities and households in the country. The position is that this 11 billion would be very useful in supporting the fiscal program. And for the set of people who are proposing to discontinue that, they must tell us how it is that they're going to manage to seed that kind of financial inflow while at the same time spending more. And there's another important thing that I'd like to point out to you both, gentlemen. So much of what the PNP is proposing to do or passing off as their policy platform and prescriptions were they to form government are actually things that are already in train and are being done by the government. I cite a few examples. They speak about a road maintenance approach and, of course, scheduling when roads will come up for repairs. The Prime Minister articulated precisely that in about August of last year when he appeared at one of the post-cabinet press briefings, and he spoke to the fact that this government is pursuing a single road authority in the country so that we no longer have to be in this place where the NWA is saying this is a parish council road and the municipal corporation is saying no, this is not our road, this is NWA road. Jamaicans want good road for drive on. That is what they care about. It matters not to them whether it is an NWA road, a community scheme road, or a parish council road. They want to know that them have good road carpet.
And when is that going to come into fruition?
No,
Because something I've been discussing for a while.
Started in that regard, Sanjay. Considerable work has started in that regard, because as you'll appreciate, a reform and a project such as this has to be underpinned by the requisite capacity, internal and otherwise, human and otherwise capacity. But more importantly, the government, through the NWA, has gone out to appropriately quantify our network of roads in this country. So prior to the work that has been done, it was considered that Jamaica had somewhere in the order of 22,000 or 23,000 kilometers, yes, of roadway in the country. Based on the empirical work that has been done, actually going out into the highways and byways across the country and quantifying our stock of road, as it were, if I could loosely use that expression, the stock of road network that we have comes up to 27,000 kilometers. Now, what they're doing as well is developing a database where they are literally putting into that database the status of the respective roads, so you will know which road is in a state of disrepair, which road surfaces are okay, and therefore you're able to determine and program from there when respective stretches of road will be due for routine and appropriate maintenance, whether it is a degree of repaving or an entire rebuilding. So that is what we want to get to, and that is something that will be advanced even further in a third term of the Andrew Holness-led Jamaica Labour Party government. But just let me enumerate a couple other things that Mark Golding said yesterday that are already in train. So he speaks to a plan to do screening with respect to cancers, for example, in the country. The Jamaica Labour Party government has utilized and has tapped the National Health Fund to deliver to our population of men in this country PSA screens to essentially detect prostate cancer, because as we know, in a majority black population, we are highly susceptible to incidence of prostate cancer, and of course the prevalence of prostate cancer has emerged in this country, and so government is actually in a targeted way seeking to treat with this particular debilitating illness, which is very prevalent in our population, prostate cancer, and so the support for payment and concessions with respect to PSA tests are in place. We have also sought to treat with cervical cancer through the HPV vaccines. And of course, you may have seen on social media, gentlemen, the Agriculture Minister, Floyd Green, shoot back at Julian Robinson, for want of a better expression, insofar as Julian proposing to do research and innovation with respect to agriculture and irrigation and cold storage. And the Agriculture Minister had to appropriately indicate to him how far advanced we are with respect to research and innovation, with respect to irrigation across the country, not least the Essex Valley system, and of course other systems that are being built out. And the cold storage facility that we just opened the other day over in Manchester. So the idea is that the key things that are confronting the country, this Andrew Holness-led administration is dealing with it. We are angle and triangle the things, and that's why George Davis quite rightly described the challenge the PNP has as one in which they are being boxed out essentially, because when you have an incumbent government performing so well, gentlemen, your room to maneuver as an opposition, a set of people who are an alternative, or at least seeking to be an alternative, you do not have much room to maneuver, and that is why we got from Mark Golding what we got yesterday in terms of repeats of existing programs.
But to be fair, though, Marlon, the matter of owning a house is a difficult situation that many of us face in the country. And some of the proposal put forward by Mr. Golding to deal with, for example, he gave the initiative rent to own. So if you can't find a deposit, which, as you know, many individuals struggle to find a deposit, you're paying as rent. And then once you reach that certain amount that would form the deposit, then it transfers to a mortgage. So some of those ideas are not bad ideas to help those who are trying to own a home.
These are not bad ideas, and that is why I would read for you, Sanjay in particular, an article titled Holness Says Rent to Own Housing Program Coming. And he was speaking on in May of 2022. And I'm starting here because there's a subsequent development to this. It says here, Ricardo and Sanjay rather, and Siobhan, the government is promising to ease the demand for housing by allowing Jamaicans to acquire their homes in a rent-to-own arrangement. This was the Prime Minister speaking in 2022. Capri did a study in relation to this where the idea of rent-to-own was broached. I think the study dates back to 2015. And in 2024, in the 2024-2025 budget debate, the Prime Minister indicated some important advances in this regard, where the NHD actually commenced this kind of arrangement in the fiscal year 2024-2025. So again, I say, Sanjay, and for the benefit of...
Wait, Marlon. So I don't want to preempt the Prime Minister's speech. Should we expect an announcement regarding that rent-to-own initiative from the Prime Minister in his budget presentation?
I, too, wouldn't want to preempt the Prime Minister's speech. I can assure you, though, that the Prime Minister has, as the chief builder in this country, the man who has presided over the build-out of many housing solutions in the country and, of course, many housing starts, including, of course, houses under the new social housing program, where many indigent Jamaicans have benefited from houses under the new social housing program, in addition to what Desmond McKenzie has going on through the Poor Relief Department and his ministry, the indigent houses. So the Prime Minister, as you know, as the builder-in-chief, will be setting the record straight. You saw a particular gentleman taking to the stump in recent weeks and essentially seeking to set the record straight. We will see a real setting of the record straight when the Prime Minister takes to his feet.
No, but currently, Marlon, there's no rent-to-own program.
Will be one of them.
No, but hold on. Currently, there is no rent-to-own program. What you indicated is that in 2022, the Prime Minister made the announcement that they're looking at that direction. Are you suggesting that plans are in train and we will hear something shortly about rent-to-own program?
I'm actually indicating to you, gentlemen, that the Prime Minister announced that in the budget debate of last year. Yes?
Yeah, so, and how far down the wicket are we? That is a really real question.
Get details on that tomorrow, because what I have here before me, and I will read this. In his 2024-2025 budget presentation in Parliament in March, Prime Minister Holness announced a new program by the National Housing Trust where contributors who are first-time home buyers may use their accumulated points and NHD benefits to access one-bedroom apartments, particularly within or near urban centers, as starter homes. These apartments will be made available to contributors via sale agreements with an optional buyback clause.
I actually do. Now that you read it out, I do recall that in his budget presentation, and I suppose it is to get an update on where that program is actually.
So and just to read this final paragraph, it says here, there are many persons working in, this is a direct quote of the Prime Minister, by the way, speaking last year, i.e. in the 2024-2025 budget. He says here, there are many persons working in all kinds of industry who earn relatively decent salaries that, instead of paying rent, they could use the money for rent to pay for a mortgage, which preserves their equity in a property. They can then build upon the equity in future years. The government thinks this is a very innovative solution that will help to ease the housing shortage that is right across Jamaica. This is Andrew Holness, gentleman, speaking in the 2024-2025 budget debate. And as I said before, the gentleman takes to his feet in less than 24 hours, and I trust. Yes, in fact, I am very confident that as the builder-in-chief, the man who dons a safety vest and a hard helmet and hard boots will be demonstrating and setting the record straight as to sweeping reforms and initiatives that are fit for purpose at the National Housing Trust. And importantly, gentlemen, doing so in a sustainable and responsible way, because anybody can take to their feet and stop anything will come at them out. Yes? But just to be clear, our things are appropriately costed, and we are the people of fiscal responsibility and fiscal discipline. We are not the run with it crew.
And just finally, on that same topic of sustainability, Marlon, because this one, I do feel the opposition has a point. This utilization of future revenues to fund current projects, and I see where the opposition pointed out that there's another 58 billion in a major item to be sold off by the government. Can you give us an understanding as to what is the government's thinking in this kind of arrangements? For such example, the selling of the Trans-Jamaica Highway shares, the securitization of the NMIA revenues. I believe the opposition has a point that it's not necessarily the best idea to lock out those revenues from the coffers for an extended period of time.
Well, I want to just apprise both you as the program hosts and your listeners, yes, that the divestment essentially of holdings in an entity such as Trans-Jamaica Highway is in keeping with the philosophy and the orientation of this government. The government need not hold the commanding heights of the economy where there are things that the private sector are well placed to preside over and to do. So the government, from time to time, gentlemen, will always take a look at its holdings, of course, and make determinations in the best interest of the country and devise approaches to divesting its interest in the commanding heights of the economy in ways that benefit a broad cross-section of the Jamaican people. And that is why, as you saw with Wigton and as you saw in a previous iteration with Trans-Jamaica Highway, there is now to be a second iteration of Trans-Jamaica Highway. But alas, Sanjay and Siobhan, we are in a budget debate. Our first batsman took to the wicket and Favour did so last Tuesday. The Prime Minister takes to his feet tomorrow, but importantly as well, the Finance Minister will rebut and close out the budget debate, and I am very confident that on the business of the sale of receivables, she will have an appropriate response, an appropriate rebuttal to the observation, or I dare say, the caution presented last afternoon by Mark Jefferson Golding.
Okay, that is Senator Marlon Morgan. So I suppose all eyes are now on Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and his budget presentation tomorrow. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Marlon.
Thank you so much as well. Good.
All the best.
Well, in the few minutes we have left to us, listeners, we're going to take your calls. The numbers are 630-9371-4 and 618-8255.
Taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Voyagings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Voyagings After Dark.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of The Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Welcome back, listeners. As I said, we're taking your calls. We're going to try to get in as many as possible. The little time we have. Cleveland, you're on the line.
Yes.
Hello, Cleveland.
How are you doing, Cleveland?
Yesterday, I listened to Mr. Golding. Mr. Golding telling his nation that statistics can't nab. What kind of argument that Mr. Golding come in with to the Jamaican people? Statistics is very important in whatever you're doing, especially running a country.
One would say it's critical.
Eh?
One would say it's critical.
Yes. Come on.
But I mean, I think his base point is at the end of the day, there's still many Jamaicans that are not having the easiest of times in this modern reality. I think that is his basic point.
You think if him come in tomorrow morning and still they're going to have it easy?
Highly unlikely.
Oh? Well, that's why I tell you, not stop misleading the people here who's going to run themselves in trouble in this place. We need to be honest to the Jamaican people. And the amount of things that he's putting forward that he wants to do, where the money going to come from?
Well, that is for Mr. Golding and his prospective cabinet, so to speak, to discuss and tell the Jamaican people, because I don't think elections are going to be called the day right after Favour closes the budget debate. So there will still be a few months where Mr. Golding will have to say to the Jamaican people, this is how we're going to spend the money.
But Cleveland, hold on, because one of the things that we have been asking for is for the opposition to give us what is it that they will do should they form government. And Mr. Golding on Tuesday outlined a few of the things that his party would do if they form government. As Siobhan indicated, the Minister Williams will do her final presentation next week. The election is not going to call right after, so the PNP has some time now to explain how they're going to fund the proposals that they have put forward.
I mean, I would just say this, I'm not, as Mr. Morgan rightfully pointed out, this notion of discretionary spending, I don't like the utilization of the term, because it is not as discretionary as it is being led to be believed. It is more of a give or take.
Yes.
It is a zero-sum game. You're taking money from some place to put it somewhere else. That's how budgeting works. And I just want to understand from the part of the JLP, as someone spoke to me as a member of the PNP, said that, well, our priorities would be different from the Holness administration. I said, very well. What would be those priority shifts?
Yeah. I think that is very important to tell the Jamaican people. That will be the difference, because based on how I'm looking at things, they're going to have to tax a lot of things, right? And when Mr.
I don't think the Jamaican people will be accepting of any additional taxation at this point in time. It would have to be within the gambit of the budget and the country's revenues. And the opposition, for example, they know how much is the projected take-in for revenues over the next financial year. They should use it as a template and say, well, this is what we would shift, and this is where we would shift it to. I believe that should be how a budget debate is undertaken, because you get a document saying this is going to be our revenues. The fiscal commissioner endorsed it saying, yes, we agree that these revenue targets are achievable. The opposition should then now look at those revenue targets and say, okay, well, the government, we don't agree with them spending here. We feel it should be spent here instead. But that is my opinion.
That's not a bad idea, Siobhan, because at least it would answer the question that many individuals are asking. Where is it that the money is going to come from to fund whatever you're proposing?
Yes, because we know what happened to us in earlier days with the PNP at government. We sort of, don't like how things is going now, what they're saying, that the amount of things that they say they want to do, because the same way we run into trouble when they were there in government earlier times, right? And they tax and try and tax so much things and nearly tax out our life, right? And that is why we want to just take what they're saying.
I don't think, though, and Siobhan said it earlier, Jamaicans don't have that appetite to go back to a time when a budget is read and we expect a raft of new tax measures. I don't think that we'll ever accept that.
The government that does that is going to be a one-term government.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how you can get past
that. No doubt about that.
but thank you, Cleveland, for the call.
All the best, Cleveland.
Delroy, good evening.
Hi, Siobhan. Good night. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Yes, I was listening to Mr. Golden yesterday.
Yes.
Mr. Golden seems to take people a fool or something like that, When you're saying that he's going to set up a way that, people can get house and things like that to live in. Yeah, you can. To live in, that's everybody wants a house, yes? Or you can get money to borrow. Let me tell you, which bank, whether in Jamaica or anywhere over the world, people are just go tell you, say, listen, I need 10 million or 10 billion to borrow without you're working or you have something to show. You can't just go and go tell the bank, I need some money to borrow, you don't have a receipt. Even if you say you're working, you don't have a receipt to show, so that's your pay step or thing like that. Because the first thing they ask is your pay step. You understand? So which bank going to just take that from people?
I wouldn't expect any financial institution to do that.
But I want to hear where you're taking. I want to see where you're taking the point, though.
Yes. So when he come in and making those type of speech, he can make that speech. But who wish any idiot want to just take that, them can't take that because me know within myself, sir. No bank not going to take that from you because if you're going to a place to go even open an account, the first thing.
No, but hold on, because I'm not following. Is it that you're talking about the proposal, the initiative to help those first-time home buyers?
Yes. Once you don't have the money.
Right, but remember though, caller, the NHT would have to do their due diligence. It's not that because the government, let's say whichever government make an announcement that this is what we're going to do, it means that it's a free for all. There's a process that you still have to go through with the NHT, provide the necessary documentation before you qualify.
Yeah, but what he is saying, and even to put in some people's head, is that if you're even not working or you don't have not so working, if you don't have the money, you can easily go and get it to borrow. There's no way at all going to help you.
No, that's not what he said, though.
But Sanjay, this does raise an interesting point. In order to benefit from the NHT, don't you have to be a contributor to the NHT?
That's correct, yes.
Wouldn't that mean you would be required to have a paycheck or file your own income taxes?
Yes.
Exactly.
Then how would somebody who, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but who operates a handcart and operates in the informal economy, how would they then be able to get that benefit from the NHT without being a contributor?
It's impossible. That cannot happen.
No, but did Mr. Golden suggest that individuals who are non-contributors would?
But he says people without a paycheck, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know which other category of people that would apply to.
But it could very well mean that those individuals who are not salaried individuals.
But those people would still file their taxes. I don't imagine that's the individual he's referring to.
Listen. You see, many of what Mr. Golden said yesterday, the reason why he don't give no answer. Mr. Golden Jappy is like in tray, in line out of sea, expect fish to pick it up because Mr. Golden know that the Prime Minister going to speak tomorrow. So he make him speech and just leave it there. Him saying not finish it, just leave it there, just to listen to what the Prime Minister said so he can come back and rebut and say that's where he was going. That's why he couldn't give no figure, you know. That's why I could give a figure because him wait to hear what the Prime Minister come with. Then after I think he rebut and said that's where he was going. So he don't have a plan to do it neither himself. Now again, he's speaking on the heart program. What him gonna do again if somebody paying people to go and learn a skill, right? And even when them paying them to go and learn the skill, people still refuse. If me just come and tell us, all right, go learn a skill. And somebody pay you for good. We shouldn't think that people don't pay attention. We must be the one that paying people to learn the skill. Hello?
That's what the matter regarding that. I don't know. How do you better incentivize somebody to get a formal skill beyond paying them to do that formal skill, to get that training? And how do we go beyond that program? I'm trying to figure that out myself. How do we go beyond that? Remember, we're at the point now where we're paying people to get formal training. Where do we go from there? What further incentive do we add?
Yeah, because if you paying people, Mark, you just go out there and work, and I've been paying somebody to work. And people refuse to take the money to go. You know you're going to learn.
Anyways, Carl, I'm getting the wrap up. I'm sorry. I have to cut you there. I'm telling time to go. So thanks to our super producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew Glenn Anderson, the news and production department led by the capable Cara Powell. Thanks to you in Radio Land, those on YouTube, Jamaica Guy, Geneva, Michael Enriquez, Dre Views, Maxine Wildman, all of you. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's been an honor and a privilege. Sanjay?
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us your name again. Anyways, have yourself a wonderful evening. My name is Sanjay Lewis. All the best.
Pedestrians, don't assume vehicles will stop. Always be aware of your